How do you rebuild your life, feel safe, and not have one point of failure? Let me give you an example. Alex has been carrying everything alone for a long time: income, childcare, transportation, documents, emergencies, even the job is staying calm enough to keep the rest of life moving. Then a friend says, I can pick up your child from school every Tuesday for the next 6 weeks. It's a small offer, one ride once a week for a limited amount of time. But Alex doesn't experience it as small. Alex' first thought is, this is how it starts. First, I accept the ride, then I need the ride, then this person has power over me. So Alex says no. Maybe you recognize that feeling. Someone offers help, and instead of relief, you feel danger. You remember what happened when too much of your life depended on one person. You remember when it cost, what it cost, when that person changed, left, when that person failed, when that person became controlling, or when that person simply could not carry what they thought or what you thought they could carry. So you make a private promise. I will not let one person become the unexamined carrier of every essential part of my life again. That promise makes sense. It may have helped you survive, but there's a paradox. The paradox is this: one person's safety can make a little, either one person's safety can make life fragile, and no person's safety can also make life fragile. If one person carries everything, too much can fail at once. But if you refuse every form of reliance, then you become the person carrying everything. You're still at one point of failure. One illness, one missed paycheck, one broken car, one childcare interruption, and the same cascade can happen from the other direction. So today, we're going to make a distinction between chosen reliance and helplessness. And then I'll give you a simple way to examine where your life may have only one point of failure. The idea I'm going to call concentrated safety is simple. Too many essential jobs have been assigned to one source. That source could be a romantic partner, could be a parent, it could be a friend, an employer, a therapist, an institution, or you. The problem is not that the source is a person. The problem isn't that you need help. The problem isn't even that one person carries an important responsibility. Real relationships and real families often involve meaningful duties. The question is this: whether several essential parts of your life depend on one source with no usable alternative, no clear boundary, and no practical way to revise the arrangement if it stops working. So let's define chosen reliance. The way I'm going to use chosen reliance here is bounded support for a task, a part of life, or a season. You still have meaningful authority over your participation. The scope is clear here. Consent remains active, access can be revised, and when possible, there's another option if the arrangement fails. Helplessness is this: it's different. For this lesson, helplessness is going to mean that meaningful options and usable exit have collapsed. Meaningful options and usable exit have collapsed. It doesn't mean you needed someone. It doesn't mean you accepted care. It doesn't mean you couldn't perform every task alone. So let me say that again. Needing help is not the same as having no authority. Accepting support is not the same as surrendering exit. Relying on someone is rather relying on someone in one part of your life is not the same as giving that person control over every part of your life. They're not inextricably conjoined. Psychological research treats autonomy and connection as needs that can exist together. In other words, autonomy isn't simply doing everything alone. You can be autonomous and not be alone, you see? You can have help and still be the author of your participation. The book OLNE says support should be additive and non coercive. It may not presume someone's involvement, or undermine consent. The book gives examples like listening without immediately trying to fix things, asking how to help, celebrating progress, and expressing a would like without turning it into a demand. The word additive is useful. Good support adds an option. It doesn't quietly remove your other options. It doesn't make the helper the owner of your decision. It doesn't turn gratitude into permanent obligation. The book OLNE also describes voluntary connection among people who retain autonomy, boundaries, explicit responsibility, and the freedom to remain distinct. People can rely on each other's consistency, support, and communication without making the relationship responsible for their entire emotional stability. In other words, the alternative to codependence isn't isolation, it's connection with clear authority and responsibility. Now, dependence can become destructive, but we have to be precise. Vectin points out that ordinary human dependence and the lifelong wish to be cared for are not automatically pathological. In the same discussion, Vectin becomes concerned when the need is compulsive, pervasive, and excessive. Vectin describes patterns in which a person repeatedly seeks reassurance or crucial input from outside and may transfer responsibility for their life to someone else. It's not the same as calling a friend before a difficult decision. It's not the same as needing childcare. It's not the same as accepting financial help during an emergency. One behavior doesn't establish a diagnosis. The question is what job the other person has repeatedly been required to perform, and what happens to your authority when that person performs it. Beckton also describes a militant form of self sufficiency that can conceal fear of weakness, need, or intimacy. That's a possible pattern as well. It's not necessarily a label you should apply to yourself because you refuse one offer. People refuse help for many reasons, but the description gives us a useful question. If refusing this help increasing my options, or rather, if refusing this help, does it increase my options? Or is refusing it forcing me to carry another load because all reliance now feels like captivity? That question doesn't pathologize independence, it examines the cost of a rule. The book Orelani insists that you approach security, the idea, from a different direction. What happens when a person locates essential security outside of themselves and then feels pressure to follow another person's rule? It's called deceptive when someone promises security in exchange for something of value and then doesn't provide the promised security. This is an important distinction. A promise of security is not observable reliability. Someone can sincerely want to help and still lack the capacity, the boundaries, the consistency, or the practical ability to carry that role that they promised. Sincerity answers one question. Perhaps the offer is genuine. That's the only thing it says, sincerity. Reliability, on the other hand, answers another question. Can the person actually perform that role they promised with clear notice, consistent conduct, sufficient capacity, and respect for the agreed scope, the boundary? Johnny Saporno describes security as a felt state rather than a guarantee against every unwanted outcome. That's useful as long as we don't erase material reality. Feeling safe is real. So are money, housing, transportation, healthcare, caregiving, legal protection, and responsive social support. No practical condition guarantees perfect protection, but practical options still change what a person can do. So assess both. How does this arrangement feel? And what options actually exist? 10 people saying, call me if you need anything, may provide less usable support than one person who has clearly agreed to one task and reliably performs it. But one reliable person still doesn't need to become responsible for every task. More contacts doesn't automatically create better fit, responsiveness, or delivery. Let's go back to Alex. The friend's offer is Tuesday, school pickup for 6 weeks. Alex doesn't need to decide whether this friend is trustworthy in every possible part of life. Alex only needs to evaluate one arrangement, the arrangement that they said. This is where we use the single point dependency map. This is not a clinical tool. It's not a way to diagnose a relationship or predict your safety or measure coercion or replace professional help assessment. It's a reflection practice created for this lesson. There are 5 questions I'm going to offer you. The first question is this: what part of life is being carried? For Alex, it's Tuesday transportation, not money, not emotional regulation, not legal decisions, not emergency authority, just one task: picking up your child every Tuesday morning. Second question: who or what carries it? For example, the friend provides the ride. Alex keeps access to the school schedule and remains responsible for decisions about the child. Third, what happens if it fails? If the friend cancels, Alex needs another ride that day. The cancellation may be stressful, but it doesn't automatically collapse every other part of life. So, inevitably, you get the fourth question: does another option exist? Alex has one emergency contact and one fallback transportation option. Neither option has to be perfect. It has to be real enough to prevent the friend from becoming the only possible answer. Fifth question: does the support preserve authority? The arrangement has a clear task, a 6-week duration, notice if the friend can't make it, and permission for either person to revisit it. Accepting the ride doesn't grant the friend authority over Alex's unrelated choices or automatic access to other parts of Alex's life. Notice what Alex is not doing. Alex isn't declaring total trust. Alex isn't promising permanent access. Alex isn't handing over the next week, the whole week. Alex isn't asking the friend to become a parent, a therapist, financial provider, and emergency system. Alex is allowing one person to carry one agreed task under clear conditions, bounds. And that may be the most important shift in this lesson. You don't have to answer, can I depend on people, as one enormous yes or no question. You can ask, can I rely on this person for this task under these conditions, based on this evidence, while keeping authority over the rest? That's a smaller question, a more specific question. It's also a more honest question. If you want to apply this, don't map your entire life tonight. Choose one recurring strain, like transportation, a document backup, an emergency contact, one childcare task, one person you can call when a decision becomes emotionally overwhelming, not to decide for you, but to help you hear your own reasoning. Then ask the 5 questions. What part of life is being carried? Who or what carries it? What happens if it fails? Does a different option exist? Does the support preserve your authority? Simple 5 questions. You can discover that one person is carrying too many jobs. You may discover that you're carrying too many jobs because no one is allowed to help. You may discover that the support exists only as a promise, or you may discover that a narrow, reliable arrangement is already working and doesn't need to become anything larger. But safety can include bounded support too. Bounded support can still leave your authority intact. A durable life can include your judgment, your skills, your income, your documents, your routines, your boundaries, your fallback plans, your relationships, and the people who have earned one specific form of trust. Not everyone has to carry everything, and no one person, including you, has to be the condition that keeps everything from failing. This is Ron John. Thank you for watching this video. I'll see you in the next episode. Bye-bye.
One small hand and one small debt. When you went still, the room went hollow. I learned the shape of a swallow's sorrow. torchlights one by one, small gold halos on different doors. A thread in my palm, another in yours. I started tying what I could keep. Not one hand, I can hold more than one. Porch lights on, all these names in the dark. Not a trade, no one wears your fate. I build bridges where the dark used to stay. Mara makes tea and never asks why. She just leaves the mug by the blue pen. Divin calls late with a busted joke, pulling me back from the edge of smoke. Nia knows silence like a second language. She sits with the ache and does not manage it. And Leon's laugh hits like a hammer, plain and bright on a winter. Now every bond has its own grain, its own art, its own weight. No single river carries my name. I am a hand with many roads in it. Not one hand, I can hold more than one. Porch lights on, all these names in the dark. Not a trade, no one wears your face. I build bridges where the dark used to stay. Look up, the sky isn't one thing, it breaks into constellations, separate sparks linked by distance, a woven rope made strong by the strands. 100 small crossings appearing over black water.